This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Turning for home together, and Top Billing is sent after them. They're into the stretch. Wildcat Red digs in. General A-Rod, Top Billing's got work to do. Final 16th. Wildcat Red, General A-Rod, Top Billing coming, but too late. Here's the wire. It is going to be a head-bobbing finish, and it's close. Wildcat Red or General A-Rod?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Cassano. On this morning's show, we will review and attempt to analyze a number of races from the week past, including the Fountain of Youth and the Risen Star. We will update our Derby Dozen, where our number one Derby prospect has been sold. Then we will welcome in a pair of special guests. From South Florida, Mr. Wesley Ward, who will send out the unbeaten No Nay Never in not only his 3-year-old debut, but his dirt debut in this afternoon's Swale. And Wesley also has Noble Cornerstone going in the Gotham here in New York. And from New York, Mr. Tony Dutrow, who's in trouble, makes his 3-year-old debut in the Gotham. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our March 1st edition of the show. Good morning. Welcome to March. Hallelujah. We've got February behind us. Although driving in this morning, it felt just like January and February at 15 degrees. But welcome to March, and welcome to our 22nd anniversary show. 22 years on the air. I'd like to take just a brief moment to thank some folks, beginning with our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, who has been with us for the last 20 years. I'd like to thank my partner over the first 19 years, Mike Veach. I'd like to thank Capital OTB Management, all the techs who have worked on the show over those 22 years. I would like to thank all of the guests, and they have been numerous for 22 years, for appearing on the program. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank you for watching over the years. And one of the many benefits for me in doing this show for that long is I've had the opportunity to meet some of you and talk about racing, and that has been very, very enjoyable. So thanks to everyone. All right, some news items, including a couple from last week when we simply ran out of time. Next Saturday is the Santa Anita Handicap, and both Mucho, Macho Man, and Will Take Charge, shown here, separated by an inch in last year's Breeders' Cup Classic, are pointing to the race. Game On Dude, who, a lot of people forget, was favored in the Classic, is also scheduled to run, and that should be a beauty. Now, some more news on Mucho. Frank Stronach's Adena Springs has purchased an interest in him. The percentage and the amount of money involved was not disclosed, but Mucho will continue to be trained by Kathy Ritvo before standing stud at Adena Springs. And Del Mar Racecourse is looking for some good dirt. After several years of racing with a synthetic main track surface, Del Mar officials announced that beginning in 2015, it would go back to a dirt main track. Remember, Del Mar wants, and as I understand it, has a very good chance of getting the Breeders' Cup. And putting in a dirt surface will only enhance those chances. Two-time reigning Horse of the Year Wise Dan had his first workout this past week since his victory in last year's Breeders' Cup. Charlie Lepresti sent Wise Dan an easy 3 furlongs at Keeneland as he prepares to begin a 7-year-old campaign. It's a campaign which may see Wise Dan give up some middle-distance turf opportunities to return to dirt. And Clarence Sharborough Jr., the owner of 1988 Horse of the Year and 1987 Kentucky Derby hero Ali Sheba, passed away recently at the age of 88. Sharborough got to see his 3-year-old filly, 50 Shades of Gold, win the Texas Stallion Stakes at Sam Houston just days before he died. And Urbane, who scored Grade 1 victories in the John A. Morris at Saratoga and the Ashland at Keeneland, died on Tuesday shortly after giving birth. Urbane was 22. And Frank Gabriel Jr., currently racing secretary in Dubai, has been named NYRA's new racing secretary for Belmont Park in Saratoga. Gabriel, who was NYRA's director of racing in the late 1990s, will begin his new position in mid-April. And Corey Lannery has been named the winner of the prestigious George Wolfe Memorial Award. The Wolfe Award, presented annually since 1950, honors riders for both professionalism and personal successes. The 39-year-old Lannery, who has won more than 3,500 career races, was chosen by a vote of his riding peers. And owner Ron Paolucci has taken Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies heroine Rhea Antonia away from trainer Jeremiah Engelhart and has given her to Bob Baffert. Rhea Antonia finished 4th in her 2014 debut last Saturday in the Rachel Alexandra, which you will see later on in the show, and will make her next start in the April 5th Santa Anita Oaks. Just a reminder, beginning this coming Thursday, March 6th, First Post at Aqueduct moves to 120. All right, let's begin our race review. Last Saturday at Gulfstream with a return of Normandy Invasion. His first start since that premature move cost him a higher finish when he ran 4th in last year's Kentucky Derby. He went to the sidelines with foot issues, body soreness. They took their time with him. He is number 1 in here going a mile. Not ideal, but then again, it is only an entry-level allowance. For the call, here's Larry Colmus.
They're off. Risk Factor on the far outside is out sharply and goes to take the early lead. She is away with some early speed as well as the field races out of the chute. These two are 1-2, and then comes Morgan's Gorilla. Normandy Invasion is 4th right now, and he's racing 4.5 lengths off the lead. It's another 4 lengths back to Liberal Spin, and Touch of Star Quality will have to come from last. The first quarter mile up in 24 and 2. Up the backstretch they go, and Risk Factor is the leader by 1 3/4 over Chi in second. Then it's Morgan's Gorilla. Normandy Invasion 4th on the inside, hard held at this stage, 3.5 lengths off the lead. Touch of Star Quality gets going now from 5th, and then comes the trailer Liberal Spin, 46 and 3 for a half mile. Into the far turn they go. Risk Factor the leader. Chi to the outside second. Outside of them, it's Morgan's Gorilla. Normandy Invasion is going to come 4 deep now, and now he switches to the outside, and Normandy Invasion is moving right now as they come toward the top of the stretch. Javier Castellano and Normandy Invasion have taken the lead on the far outside with a sweeping move to the top. They're into the stretch, and Normandy Invasion turns it on, and he opens up a 3-length lead. Morgan's Gorilla left behind, Chi on the inside, then comes Liberal Spin and Touch of Star Quality. Normandy Invasion is back, and back in style. Oh, he looked good.
That was an impressive return for Normandy Invasion. Making his first start in 294 days, Normandy Invasion completely dominated this entry-level allowance field, drawing off to a 7 3/4 length victory for Chad Brown and Javier. Normandy Invasion broke well from the inside post and got good position. He eased to the outside going to the far turn, then when asked right about here, responded very nicely while extending his advantage. Now I know this was only a non-winners of a race other than, but it was impressive. I really liked what I saw. Now, history will show that Normandy Invasion finished fourth in last year's Kentucky Derby, but I remain convinced he was better than that. And that comes from someone who was fortunate enough to have selected Orb. Owner Rick Porter, after this race, mentioned a couple of 9-furlong stakes as possibilities for Normandy Invasion's next start. The New Orleans Handicap, where he would likely meet Palace Malice, or the Oaklawn Handicap, where he would likely meet Will Take Charge. Now, just how fast did Normandy Invasion run last Saturday? This is a little bizarre, I've got to tell you. Or the original timing of the Gulfstream race. And folks, understand that going a mile, the run up to the timing pole is only 5 feet. So, there's not a lot of room for mistakes. 5 feet is about the shortest run up to a timing pole that you're going to see. And the original fractions and final time showed 24.50, 46.61, 110.31, and 134.78. But then they double-checked the Trackus timing. And as you can see, they weren't even close to each other. 22.85, 44.96, 108.66, and 133.13, which is a new track record. I'm just wondering how two different pieces of timing could be more than a second and a half off, and given that the run-up is only 5 feet, again, how many mistakes can you make with a 5-foot run-up? So, no matter how fast he ran, whether it was a track record or not, it was, at least in my opinion, a brilliant comeback for Normandy Invasion. All right, we'll begin our 3-year-old segment with a Fountain of Youth. 8.5 furlongs at Gulfstream, the 2-to-1 favorite, despite a brutal post position, number 12, Top Billing. A very impressive allowance winner over the track and last. 3-to-1 second choice, number 5, General A-Rod. Away since an exciting victory in the January 1st Gulfstream Park Derby. 7-to-2 third choice, number 1, Commissioner, who had beaten Top Billing in allowance race in Commissioner's last start. It was 2 back for Top Billing. And the fourth choice at 9-to-2, number 4, Wildcat Red. A very impressive winner, the Hutchison, sprinting in last. Now, interestingly, for both Wildcat Red and General A-Rod, they were making their 2-turn debuts in here. So, for the call of the Fountain of Youth, here's Larry Colmus.
And they're all in line. They're off in the Bessilou Fountain of Youth, and Commissioner goes right out to take the early lead. Wildcat Red is showing speed, too, right to the outside of Commissioner, who will let Wildcat Red go and set the pace. And now General A-Rod moves up into second position, CZ is third, and Commissioner is taken back to fourth. Our Caravan fifth on the far outside. In between horses, Medal Count is after that. Then it's back to Best Plan Yet, followed by We Miss Artie along the inside. He's in front is next, and then comes Almost Famous, who's racing about 10 lengths off the lead right now. Top Billing and East Hall are at the back. Top Billing is 12 lengths off the lead. The pace is fast. They went 23 flat for the opening quarter mile. Up the back stretch, and Wildcat Red and General A-Rod are locked in battle. They are noses apart on the lead. Medal Count is 4 lengths off of them. Commissioner is down on the inside, being ridden along here. Commissioner is still about 7 lengths behind. Then We Miss Artie, Best Plan Yet, right there in between horses. CZ is there. Our Caravan to the outside. Top Billing's on the rail, just inside of Almost Famous, and he's still about 10 lengths behind as General A-Rod and Wildcat Red go through a 46 1/2 mile. Their noses apart midway around the far turn. Medal Count and We Miss Artie after that. Now Top Billing goes. He's just to the outside of Commissioner. Top Billing is on the charge now. He's up into third with a 3-wide run, but it's still General A-Rod and Wildcat Red turning for home together, and Top Billing is sent after after them. They're into the stretch. Wildcat Red digs in. General A-Rod, top billing's got work to do. Final 16th. Wildcat Red, General A-Rod, top billing coming, but too late. Here's the wire. It is going to be a head-bobbing finish, and it's close. Wildcat Red or General A-Rod.
In a virtual match race, Wildcat Red along the inside, after taking 8.5 furlongs of constant pressure from General A-Rod on the outside, outgames that rival by a determined head to win a very exciting renewal of the Fountain of Youth. Favored Top Billing, who set a very good trip from a very bad post, finished evenly late for third. At the break, number 8, Almost Famous, who was expected to show high early speed, got steadied back just after the start, leaving the pace setting and pace pressing up to Wildcat Red and General A-Rod. With Wildcat Red coming off an impressive victory in the 7-furlong Hutchison and General A-Rod coming off an exciting victory against Wildcat Red in the January 1st Gulfstream Park Derby, both these colts were given legitimate chances to run well. But with both of them making their two-turn debuts, there was some question about them getting a mile and a 16th. When you factor in that they went at it from the start with neither giving an inch, how do you explain them being able to run 1-2 all the way around without really being threatened? Are they exceptional 3-year-olds? Well, that's certainly a possibility. Or did the main track at Gulfstream simply carry them? Last Saturday at Gulfstream, they ran 6 races on the main track. 5 of them went wire to wire, with Normandy Invasion, who was a pole better than his rivals, the only winner to come from off the pace. So you have to decide on how to analyze the efforts of the top 2. Now to Top Billing. When you get post 11 going a mile and a 16th at Gulfstream, that is exceptionally difficult to overcome. But Joel Rosario rode him as well as a horse could have been ridden from that post. He saved ground to mid-backstretch, eased to the 2-path to split rivals, then launched an inside-out run around the far turn. He began to pick up the leaders with every stride, but once they straightened for home, Top Billing ran just evenly, never threatening the top 2 while being beaten about 2 lengths and ahead. How much did this racetrack prevent him from doing better? Listen, you could not have realistically sat a better trip than he did from post 11. So was it the speed-favoring surface that held him back? Or was he simply not good enough last Saturday? If the Fountain of Youth had been run on a more normal racetrack, Belmont Park, Churchill Downs, then the first 2, Wildcat Red and General A-Rod, would have been given much more credit, and Top Billing would have simply gone down as having had absolutely no excuse. But because this is Gulfstream, and because of the speed-favoring nature of that track, front runners you have to question, and deep closers often get a pass. Those things are legitimate to factor in. Wildcat Red and General A-Rod both likely to come back for the Florida Derby. Shug McGahee, the trainer of Top Billing, would actually prefer using the Florida Derby for Top Billing and saving the Wood Memorial for honor code. He doesn't want to have to run them against each other. But if the track continues to play absolutely favorable to speed, then Shug's got a decision to make. Congratulations to Jose Garofalo, the trainer of Wildcat Red. Whether or not that track carried him, I personally think it did help. Wildcat Red is a very nice 3-year-old, and if they spot him properly and he stays sound, they will make a lot of money with him. Next up, the Risen Star at the Fairgrounds, also at a mile and a 16th. And just like the Fountain of Youth, the favorite in here burdened with a difficult post. Number 14, Vickers in Trouble. The runaway winner, the Lecompton Last, was the 2-1 favorite from post 13. Co-second choice is at 4-1. Number 8, Opportunity, shipping in from Southern California off a maiden win for Bob Baffert. And number 2, Rise Up, making his 3-year-old debut off a big win in the Delta Jackpot. Fourth choice at 5-1 was number 9, Intense Holiday, shipping in from South Florida off a good third from a tough post in the Holy Bull for Todd Pletcher. Now watch at the break. Watch what happens to number 2, Rise Up, who figured to be part of the pace. This changed the pace scenario. For the call of the Risen Star, here's John Dooley.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Risen Star Stakes. Interchange bobbled at the start. There goes Albano right out toward the front for Kerwin Clark from the rail. And Vigorous is right with Albano as they enter the first turn with Goldhawk next in third. Toward the inside is Flat Gone. Rise Up between horses. And on the outside, Son of a Preacher is next as Albano leads them to the back of the track. Intense Holiday, tight in between horses. Vickers in Trouble, 3 wide in the clear and gaining ground. Then comes Opportunity, Extra Luck, Commanding Curve, Quick Indian, and Interchange is running second to last. And Emmett Park is 14th and the final runner as they race up the backstretch. Albano's quarter is 24 and 1/5 seconds. Albano leads by a neck. Rise Up is right there with Albano. They're tracked by Vigorous in third by 2. Goldhawk, fourth, a steady advance on the outside, Son of a Preacher. Then comes Vickers in Trouble, who's 9 lengths off the pace, going past the half mile. Inside Vickers in Trouble is Intense Holiday. Then Commanding Curve, Flat Gone. Opportunity still in the back half of the field with wide Extra Luck. Quick Indian. Then comes Interchange. Emmett Park is the distant. Half mile in 48 seconds flat around the far turn. Albano goes. Albano in front of the 2.5. Between horses, Rise Up. Right there on the outside. Vickers in Trouble at the point of attack. As they turn for home, Vickers in Trouble, this sweeping move. Albano cut the corner. On the far outside, Intense Holiday with Goldhawk. Rise Up toward the rail. On the far outside, Commanding Curve and Opportunity down the center of the track. Into this final Fairgrounds furlong. Albano, Vickers in Trouble, Intense Holiday charging on the outside. Intense Holiday bearing down on Albano. Vickers in Trouble third. Intense Holiday. Albano. Photo Intense Holiday.
Intense Holiday, shipping in from Gulfstream for Todd Pletcher. Mike Smith up, nails a perfect trip. Albano on the wire to capture the Risen Star by a nose. Favored Vickers in Trouble, who didn't leave early and made a wide menacing run to the head of the stretch, flattened out for third. When Rise Up failed to break well and Vickers in Trouble was reserved early, Albano basically found himself alone on the lead through conservative fractions. 24.30, 48.14, 113 flat. So, even though he was 13-1, his effort wasn't a major surprise considering the ideal setup he had. But Intense Holiday, coming off a pretty good fourth in the bizarrely run Remsen and a good third in the Holy Bull from a difficult post, found this company in the fairgrounds to his liking as he nailed Albano on the wire for the Starlight Partners of Jack Wolf and Schenectady's Don Lucarelli. Now, considering the pace scenario and a somewhat less than ideal trip, I thought Intense Holiday ran quite well. And according to Hall of Famer Smith, the colt has much more room for improvement. Intense Holiday has returned to South Florida to train, but will likely ship back to New Orleans for the Louisiana Derby, a race which Albano and Vickers in Trouble and the unlucky Rise Up will also be pointing to. You know, I don't think Intense Holiday is terribly flashy, but, you know, he's getting better. He's slowly moving forward. His running style, not ideal to Gulfstream, so it was a very intelligent move to get him the heck out of South Florida and get him to New Orleans. Congratulations to Jack and to Donnie and all the partners at Starlight involved in Intense Holiday. Now, the sixth race last Saturday at Gulfstream was a very fascinating allowance for 3-year-olds at a mile and a 16th. Field of 10. 5 of them were priced between 2-1 and 6-1. The favorite, number 6, Constitution, good-looking maiden winner in last at 7 furlongs, now making his 2-turn debut. 2.5-1 second choice, number 8, Tonalist, who was actually cutting back in distance. He had broken his maiden going 9 furlongs in last. Also in here, number 10, Mexicoma, making his 3-year-old debut. Number 3, Matterhorn, who took a lot of late money. He was a debut winner last fall for Pletcher. And number 9, Wicked Strong, whose lackluster 9th in the Holy Bull had a lot of people shaking their heads. We're going to see if he could rebound in this very good allowance race. For the call, here's Larry Colmus.
And they're all in line. They're off. We're all set. Had a very good beginning. We're all set out for the early lead. And now through on the inside, Sea of Faces. Constitution now moves up outside those two and moves for the lead as they race on the first turn. And then comes big guy Ian Tonalist on the outside. Solemnly Swear is after that. And then on the far outside, Matterhorn, Rhythm Blues along the rail, Mexicoma second last, and Wicked Strong is the trailer. Onto the backstretch, Constitution did not have the best of breaks, but is in front here and leads the way by a length and a half. The opening quarter mile went in 24 1/5 seconds. Big guy Ian Tonalist third on the outside by another 2. Then Sea of Faces and We're All Set, Matterhorn on the outside and Solemnly Swear. Break of another 3, back to Rhythm Blues, Wicked Strong, and Mexicoma is dead last up the backstretch. He's 12 lengths off the lead. The half mile was in 47 3. Constitution and Javier Castellano head into the turn in front. Tonalist now sent along by Joe Bravo, a half length behind. Big guy Ian starts to fade a bit, then Solemnly Swear on the outside, and We're All Set. Now getting going is Wicked Strong. Wicked Strong's got 6 lengths to gain. Mexicoma also making a bit of progress, but plenty of work to do. And Constitution to catch. 3/4 in 1:11 flat. They're into the stretch. Constitution turning for home with a 3-length lead on Tonalist. Wicked Strong on the far outside is next. Then We're All Set, followed by Matterhorn and Mexicoma, but it's Constitution coming home a winner again. Constitution scores.
Constitution, one of 5 winners on the day for Todd Pletcher, one of 6 on the afternoon for Javier, wire to wire by 3 1/4 over Tonalist, with Mexicoma making a late run to get third. In a race without a great deal of early speed, Javier sees the advantage with Constitution, getting an opening quarter in a soft 24.31, and the opening half in a conservative 47.71. Now that's all he would need, as Constitution would turn back a bid from Tonalist and stride clear for the open length score. In defeat, Tonalist ran well. Joe Bravo made an early run to try to get position, and not let Constitution get away. That might not be the Colts' best style. Mexicoma making his first start since the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and burdened with post 10 made a solid late run for third. Both, in my opinion, both the efforts of Mexicoma and Tonalist should put them in a position to move forward next out. As for Constitution, a son of Tappet, he's now 2 for 2, both at Gulfstream. I think he's a nice colt, but how nice? He may have been best in here under any circumstance, but the track and the pace certainly played right into his hands. Now, folks, there were 5 races for 3-year-olds at both Gulfstream and Fairgrounds last Saturday. Let's take a look at the final times and the pace comparisons. And, of course, you're comparing the 3 races at Gulfstream against each other and the 2 races at Fairgrounds against each other. You don't compare oranges with crawfish. So at the 3 races at Gulfstream, you can see just how fast the early pace in the Fountain of Youth was. 46.25 was a 1.5 seconds faster than Constitution's allowance race, and substantially faster than the Devona Dale as well. At the Fairgrounds, the Risen Star, where Albano got away with 24.30, 48.14, and 113 flat, substantially slower than the Rachel Alexandra, and he wasn't under very much pressure at all. That's why I give Intense Holiday, pretty good ratings for having run him down in that type of pace scenario. But you get an idea from those that comparison right there on the screen of the final times and the internal fractions, just how fast early the Fountain of Youth was and just how conservative early the Risen Star was. All right, with those trio of 3-year-old races in the books, how did that affect our Derby Dozen? Let's take a look at our updated list as of this morning. We are only 9 weeks away from the first Saturday in May. Vickers in Trouble and Commissioner are off the list. Maintaining his number 1 position, Cairo Prince, who had a majority interest purchased by Darley and Godolphin. He will go next in the Florida Derby. Candy Boy moves up a spot, as does Honor Code, to 2 and 3. Candy Boy will go next in the Santa Anita Derby. Honor Code is pointing for the Rebel. I dropped Top Billing from number 2 to number 4. He will go next in either the Florida Derby or the Wood. Bayern and Shared Belief remain at 5 and 6. Bayern will go either in next Saturday's San Felipe or the Rebel. Shared Belief hasn't had a time work since January 3rd. He is so talented that I'm keeping him on this list. But as every day passes and he doesn't get back to the track, his chances of making the Derby diminish. Now, Tapator, California Chrome, Havana, and Strong Mandate all move up a spot. Tapature and Strong Mandate will be going next in the Rebel. California Chrome will go next in next Saturday's San Felipe. And Havana starts this afternoon in the Swale. And Intense Holiday moves into spot number 11. He is new on the list. I could have put, any number of horses at 12. I put Conquest Titan in there because he goes next in next Saturday's Tampa Bay Derby. Now, on last week's show, I discussed the decision which Joel Rosario and his agent, Ron Anderson, would have to make concerning who to ride in the upcoming Rebel. Would it be Strong Mandate, who Rosario had ridden to a second-place finish in the Southwest, or would it be Kobe's Back, who Rosario had traveled to California to ride to a runaway victory in the San Vicente? Well, Rosario and Anderson have decided to ride Strong Mandate, with Jose Lescano being named by John Sadler to ride Kobe's Back. That's kind of interesting, that a strong Southern California-based trainer like Sadler would select an East Coast-based Lescano. Does that say anything to you about the riding colony in Southern California? I mean, beyond Gary Stevens and Mike Smith, that John Sadler had to come east to get Jose Lescano. We are up to our first break on this March 1st edition of the program. When we return, Mr. Wesley Ward will join us. As we go to the break, the Rachel Alexandra at the fairgrounds. 3-year-old fillies and the 3-2 favorite in from California, number 2 Streaming. Second choice at 2-1 in from New York, number 6 Ria Antonia. So we will take a look at the Rachel Alexandra to the break. Back with Wesley Ward right after these messages.
They're in the gate. And they're off in the Rachel Alexandra Stakes. Here's Express Model going out toward the front along with Streaming. Untappable with a white cap is also up close, as is Army from the Rail. Shannon Nicole is 5th. Then comes Ria Antonia. Got Lucky has dropped back to last and is settled there. Around the first turn, it's Army and Streaming, the two vying for it at the 6.5. Streaming's nosed in front of Army with the Rail. Express Model is a tracking 3rd and joined at the inside by Shannon Nicole. Untappable 5th on the outside. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Champion, Ria Antonia, 2nd to last. And in 7th is Got Lucky. A quarter at 24 seconds flat. They race up the backstretch. A short lead here for Streaming under Martin Garcia. Army is right with Streaming, and they're in step as they head to the half-mile pole. Express Model 3rd, and just off this duel out in front, Untappable 4th and close. Shannon Nicole rides the Rail. Ria Antonia is 6th in the front with under 4 furlongs to go, and the trailer is still Got Lucky. Half mile in 47 and 4/5 seconds. They round the turn. Army is just in front of Streaming with 3 furlongs to go. Army and Streaming continue to go head-to-head. Express Model, Untappable, launching this 4-wide bid. Just in back of the front, Shannon Nicole. Ria Antonia forced out there to the 5 path and got lucky, pulled 6 wide, and now they're at the top of the stretch. Past the quarter pole. 3/4, 1 minute 12 and 3/5 seconds. And it is Untappable who's emerged with a 7-length lead now and pulling away with plenty of power. Untappable got lucky. Shannon Nicole. Ria Antonia is 4th and Express Model with Rosie Napravnik. Untappable with a big, easy win in the Rachel Alexandra Stakes. She won by 10.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano, and Untappable for Steve Asmussen and Rosie Napravnik by a surprisingly easy 9.5 lengths over Got Lucky and Shannon Nicole. As a favorite, Streaming and Ria Antonia finished last and 4th, respectively. Streaming came out of the race with a chip in her left knee. Our first guest this morning will be bringing back the very talented No Name Never later this afternoon in the Swale at Gulfstream. He'll also have Noble Cornerstone here in the Gotham in New York. Joining us live via telephone from his son's basketball game in South Florida, we welcome in Mr. Wesley Ward. Wesley, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to have you. Wesley, let's begin with No Name Never. And as our audience watches him win the Norfolk Stakes last year at Ascot, and for our audience, he is number 10. Let's talk about his 2-year-old campaign. 3 for 3 with victories in 3 different countries. Wesley, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was great.
3 for 3, Wesley, for 2-year-olds. We get all excited now when babies run at 3 different venues. No Name Never won it in 3 different countries. That's incredible.
Yeah, he's just an amazing horse. He traveled back and forth and won those races out of Keeneland. Even after his Royal Ascot, he came back to Keeneland, and he traveled back to France and won the race over in Deauville. So he's an amazing horse, and in order to be able to ship that far into those different countries and still come through and win, it was just, he only came to those tracks about a couple days before each race. So he's just a fantastic horse.
Wesley, it's rare, but when we send our older grass horses overseas, they generally don't do very well. You have had success with 2-year-olds in Europe. What's the key to that success? Is their speed very, very important?
Extremely. The first part of the year, if you can get out of the gate and put yourself in a forward position and have the horses, the babies have the experience, and be very competitive, where you're right there, and then when the running starts, the last 1/8 of a mile, they lay their body down and give you their all, but they're still right there in contention of the race. It just gives you a tremendous advantage.
Wesley, take a moment to describe No Name Never for our audience from a physical standpoint, and how much has he changed from 2 to 3?
Well, fortunately, he hasn't changed a whole bunch. He was a big, imposing colt as a 2-year-old. Just a big monster, and he moves. He's quick like a cat on his feet. Like he moves like he's almost like a panther. He's black as a panther. And when you have a big horse and he moves like a cat, you know, he's very agile and he's got a wonderful mind where he can, you know, things can come up in a race and he can overcome those things with his quickness and his mental attitude that he has. That's the reason why he's been, you know, just such a wonderful horse to train and has had those three victories in 3 different countries.
You mentioned the Prix Mornay at Deauville. In a moment, our audience is going to take a look at it. He is number 6 in here. Now, Wesley, this was mid-August of last year. He hasn't started since. Is that by design?
Yes, completely by design. He in his first couple of races, you know, he's such a big colt. I sort of trained him around shins and a little bit guarded to where I didn't want to get him back to the gate because generally, for the most part, I found that's when you kind of these 2-year-olds, the first couple of steps out of the gate is when it really can set you back with those shins. So unfortunately, he broke very, very slow in his first start, and again in Royal Ascot, he broke more than a step slow. But you know, as I said, he kind of moves like a cat to where he put himself right back into those 2 races. And then at Royal Ascot, I'm sorry, in Deauville in the Mornay, boom, he broke like a shot, and he was right on the pace. And he led from start to finish, but he got a little nervous behind the gate, sort of anticipating the run, of which his first 2 starts he didn't. And I just didn't want to keep going on with him because I thought he'd just be a little bit too speed crazy. And with a big colt like that, you know, the main thing, more than anything else, you want to keep him good and sound. And so I just thought it would be a great time to give him a break and just completely let him down. I took him out to Coolmore, out to Ashford in Kentucky after that race, and just completely let him down. He was out there, you know, 1 barn away from his father, from Scat Daddy, and he just it was just a wonderful environment to give him a mental break and physical also. To where when I got him back, he was almost like starting from scratch, and he was just all nice and relaxed up until today.
All right, he's making his 3-year-old debut this afternoon in the Swale, which is also his dirt debut. Why'd you select the Swale?
Well, this is the race that I was looking at all along. You know, I just wanted to, again, reassure myself when I got him back into training that he liked the dirt, of which, for me, he's trained the majority of his life or his career at Keeneland, so he just kind of glides over the track there at Keeneland. But for me, in all of his breeds and all his workouts I've had all over, I really feel like that here at Gulfstream is his best service. He just floats over it. And I mean, every work he is more impressive than the next. He does every work with speed to spare. You know, it's a little scary to see how fast he'd go if you actually let him go out and work, because I put him with a workmate so I could get close to the times where I'd like to see him go in the morning, just so he doesn't fool the exercise rider in the morning.
Wesley, what does the future hold for No Nay Never? What type of races are you going to be targeting for him, and is a return to Europe a possibility?
That really is where I would like to take him, as well as the owners, the Ice Wine Stables. You know, the success that they've had over there with him, they just had a wonderful experience. And I need not say anything about John Magner and Michael Tabor and Derek Smith. They, you know, that's the epitome of racing in Europe is Royal Ascot. So to bring him over there, we're looking at the Jersey Stakes, which is 7 furlongs, and possibly the St. James Palace, which is a mile. So today's race would hopefully be a prep for those 2, even though it's a little bit far away. But you know, the main thing about this colt, he's very sound. He doesn't have any, and has never had any problem. He has no bleeding issues, to where he just gets a couple of cc's of Lasix is the only thing he does that he needs. He doesn't bleed, and you know, we spoke to him after every workout and every race, and he's fine that when it comes that way. So you know, he's a horse that can go over there and can compete well because of the non-bleeding issue.
That's absolutely terrific. We will look forward to that. Before we let you go, here in New York, you're going to be running the New York-bred Noble Cornerstone in the Gotham. For our audience, here he is, just missing in the Springboard Mile 2 back. And for our audience, he is number 8 in here. Wesley, he had 2 very good efforts to begin his career, including this solid second in the Springboard Mile. But when you sent him to Tampa last time for the Sam Davis, it looked like it was just a disaster. What happened that day?
Well, our long-range plans with him after the Springboard Mile was to take him to over to the fairgrounds and run him there. But from the Springboard Mile, he started just tearing the barn down, so to speak, and feeling so good. He actually one day called. So I made a call to Mr. Riggio and Lincoln Combs and Joe Miller, who managed Mr. Riggio's horses, and I said, I think we need to call an audible here because he's just going to hurt himself. He's feeling so good unless we find a race. And so we kind of moved the racing schedule up a little quick and decided to go there. And being a gelding, he's never had any, sort of nervousness problems or what have you, any gait issues or anything like that. But when he went over there, I just sent him over the night before. I got a private man, and we went into the my father's barn there at Tampa. And when we let him over for the paddock, he shipped well, did everything great. But as soon as we let him over to the paddock, he started kind of getting a little hot. And when my dad put the saddle on, he got really hot in the paddock. And when Ted got him in the post parade, as I was watching on the TV, he started just kind of getting washed out, in anticipation of the race. And as soon as he got in the gate, he tried to sit down in the gate. They had to delay the start because he kept trying to almost flip over backwards, but basically sit down. And so when he finally kind of got up, the starter sprung the latch, and Kent said he tried to give him a few jumps, 4 or 5 jumps to get his legs underneath him because he kind of broke cross-legged, and he said from that point on he just was never in the race. So, luckily enough, we've got into where we schooled him yesterday at Aqueduct. It's still beautiful, so I'm hopeful today that, that everything as far as that goes pre-race, goes cleanly to where there'll be no excuses. When the gate opens, hopefully he runs his race. I think he'll run a good race today.
Wesley, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Thanks so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. All the best with No Nay Never and Noble Cornerstone later on. All the best to your son in his upcoming basketball game. Now, Wesley, if we look ahead with your son a little bit, maybe point guard for the University of North Carolina in a couple of years?
We got to go to the University of Miami. I keep them right under my thumb, these little Tigers.
Wesley, thanks. Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Wesley Ward, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty exciting that they're going back to Europe with No Nay Never. That will be very, very exciting. And we are up to our final break. When we return, off to New York, we'll welcome Mr. Tony Dutrow. As we go to the break, the Barbara Fritchie at Laurel. 3 fillies took the money. The favorite was number 1, Centrique. Second choice, number 3, La Verdad. And the third choice, number 4, My Wendy's Girl. So we'll take a look at the Fritchie to the break. Back with Tony Dutrow right after these messages.
Lined up for the Barbara Fritchie handicap. And they're off. Clean break for La Verdad, and she's going right to the front, but My Wendy's Girl is right there with her early. Centrique away with good speed too, racing in 3rd position, and Mary Meadow followed by Baraga. It's a gap of about 4 or 5 back, access to Charlie and late running Flattering Bee. La Verdad is kept company by My Wendy's Girl to the outside with 5 furlongs left to go. Centrique is racing 3rd and Mary Meadow 4th. Baraga is 5th, 5 off the lead. Access to Charlie and Flattering Bee at 22 and 4 opening quarter as they head in the final half mile to the fire turn run in the Barbara Fritchie handicap. La Verdad and My Wendy's Girl still running with her on the outside. My Wendy's Girl coming at La Verdad into the far turn, and Centrique is 3 lengths off the leaders in 3rd position. Mary Meadow is 4th. Baraga's under a drive in 5th, and Flattering Bee in access to Charlie. The half in 45, 3/5 of a second, and La Verdad is trying to stay on through the stretch. La Verdad swings wide off that turn into the stretch. My Wendy's Girl and Centrique is set down on her full head of steam on the far outside. My Wendy's Girl perhaps ahead in front with a furlong left to go from Centrique, and a battling La Verdad on the inside. Fighting amazing finish in the Fritchie. My Wandy's girl, La Verdad and Centrique to the outside. It's my Wandy's girl. She was second last year, big victorious this year. In the Barbara Fritchie handicap, La Verdad and Centrique, followed by Merry Meadow Access to Charlie, flattering Bibaraga.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today. Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano. My thanks to Wesley Ward once again for having joined us, and my Wandy's girl for Mike Hushin and Rajiv by a length over La Verdad and Centrique to win the Fritchie. Our final guest this morning brings back Spa Maiden winner and Belmont Futurity hero in trouble for his 3-year-old debut later this afternoon in the Gotham. We welcome in live via telephone, Mr. Tony Dutrow. Tony, Mark Casano welcoming you back to Down the Stretch.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Tony, always nice to have you. Now, I mentioned the Spa Maiden win. Well, for our audience, here's a look at his debut last August. He is number 7 in here. Tony, I thought this was a very professional effort. Talk to us about the way In Trouble had trained up to his debut last summer.
Actually, he was very easy to train up to that race. We didn't really do a lot with him. Actually, it wasn't until we got him up to Saratoga and gave him a 5-furlong workout up there, and we did let him run along that day, and he breathes very, very good. But that was really the only significant workout that In Trouble had ever had up to that point. So he went into that race very good. I was very confident to take him to Saratoga for his first-time start. Because he did make me feel very good about his ability and his class before he ever ran.
So while this was a bit of a surprise to the bettors, he was 7-1. This effort really didn't surprise you at all.
I wasn't surprised. Don't get me wrong. I didn't know if he'd win the race or not, but I was feeling that the horse would go up there and run very good. So no, I was not surprised.
Tony, in a moment, we're going to put a shot of him on the screen. Take a moment to describe him for our audience from a physical standpoint, and what's he like mentally?
Well, he's an awesome individual. Physically, he's about as good-looking a horse as one could want. He's a big horse with a lot of scope, very athletic. He's a very intelligent horse as he's expressed himself in both of his starts. I think he reminds me of a very, very nice horse.
Tony, how much has he changed from 2 to 3 physically?
Physically, he's gotten a little taller. He has filled out just a little bit, but not a great change from his August Saratoga days to now. Just a little bit bigger and put on a little bit more weight. But he is such an athletic horse.
In a moment, our audience is going to be watching his victory in last fall's Belmont Futurity. For our audience, he is number 1. Tony, this race was September 29th, and he hasn't started since. What happened after this race?
After the race, he was diagnosed with a small chip fracture in the upper joint of his left knee, and that was orthoscopically removed. Days after the Futurity with Dr. Dean Richardson at the University of Pennsylvania's New Bolton Center, and that surgery went very, very well, and he was rehabbed and sent down to Palm Meadows to get ready for today.
He's been training, as you mentioned, at Palm Meadows in South Florida. How's his training gone? How's he coming up to this afternoon's Gotham?
I think the horse is trained excellent. I don't think he's missed a step along the way that he started December. I think things have gone just very, very well for him. And fortunately, we're coming into this race here today with I can't think of any excuses that I would be concerned with him coming up to this race today. Things have gone just excellent.
That's wonderful. Tony, how difficult is it to be making your two-turn debut off such a lengthy layoff?
Well, with a horse like In Trouble, I don't think it's hard to do. I think In Trouble's a good horse. And good horses take care of a great deal of everything. And I don't think that having him ready to run today has been difficult to achieve.
Let's talk strategy a little bit. You have drawn the inside post for this afternoon's Gotham. Obviously, the speed outside of you with Uncle Si and Samrat. Take us into and out of that first turn. Where would you like to see In Trouble placed early in the race?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can only assume, or I don't know if assume's the right word. I can only give an opinion of a possible scenario, and I think In Trouble, I think he's already proved that he's a very talented horse. He's fresh. He's got the one hole. I know speed was good all day yesterday at Aqueduct, so I think if In Trouble breaks well, like he has in the past, I think he's going to be right there going in that first turn. I don't know if anybody in that race is as fast as him, quite honestly. So I think he'll lead him into the first turn.
I know trainers don't like to look beyond the task at hand, but for our audience, what future races are you looking at for In Trouble?
Well, perfect world, and they're hard to find in horse racing. But a perfect world would for him to run well today, and that would lead him to the Wood Memorial, April the 5th. That's a perfect world.
Are you entertaining any thoughts at this time about the first Saturday in May in Louisville?
Well, yes. I want to give the horse a chance at that if he is that good. If he's that good, I want to give him the chance at that, and that's why we're here today in the Gotham, starting him off at two turns and onto the Wood Memorial, onto the Derby. Now, there's a lot of big ifs there, and he has a great deal to prove. But at least going into today, he has a chance of achieving this.
Tony, as always, we appreciate your time very much. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch, and all the best with In Trouble later this afternoon in the Gotham.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Tony. Tony Dutrow, ladies and gentlemen, fascinating renewal of the Gotham this afternoon. All right, let's wrap things up. Time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show on the air here at the studios at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, Brian Dorenzo, and Mick Richards. Back in the control room in Schenectady, Pat Peretta directed, Pete Persico on audio, and thanks very much to this morning's guests, Tony Dutrow and Wesley Ward. Thank you, as always, for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch for our 22nd anniversary show. Enjoy all the racing this weekend from coast to coast here at Capitol, highlighted by the Gotham and the Swale. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.